Guys, we are on a quest to beat every English PS1 game that was ever made. That's right, every last one of them. From the fan favorites like Crash Bandicoot and Resident Evil, to the Disney releases like Hercules and Monsters Inc. Yes, we're even going to play that too. This journey will be hard and long. Oh, wait, I didn't mean it like that. The path to completion will be firm and massive. I hope you can join us on this epic journey as we monitor stress levels and lock in for an intense ride to a PS1 completionist. Game number 3 is going to be Spider-Man. Spider-Man was released on September 1st, the year 2000, a staggering 23 years ago on the PS1 and Game Boy Color. It was developed by a company located in Woodland Hills, California called Neversoft, and was published by a worldwide known company called Activision. It also released on the Nintendo 64 and Dreamcast in 2001. Wait. Before we start, can we just... it gets me every time. When you load up the game, you are suddenly hit with a wall of nostalgia. The start screen and Spider-Man logo have that old-timey comic feel, and it plays the Spider-Man theme song that honestly kinda brought a tear to my eye. I thought it was kind of cool that there is actually a training mode, and also the game tracks your stats on the records tab. Anyways, I decided to select the normal mode over the hard so we can have a bit of a pleasant experience. As you load in, the camera has an overhead view showing all the buildings you would have to swing to and all the enemies that you would have to fight as well. Soon after, you scale to the top of the building and Black Cat shows up. She has some news and tells you that the city bank is being robbed. She also tells you that the robbers in the bank have hostages and you need to make sure you get there quickly so nobody gets hurt. The game lets you know which direction you need to travel to with the Spidey compass in the bottom right hand corner. And guys, honestly, at certain times during this game, this compass is a lifesaver, especially in a few coming levels. Also, there are question marks located in the first levels that brings back Black Cat, and she gives you information on how to use some of Spider-Man's abilities like web shooting. Once Black Cat leaves again, you begin to swing from building to building using your web shooter by hitting the right trigger. Some buildings have health packs that you can pick up for HP and also have extra web cartridges laying around so that you can refill your web attacks. On top of some of the buildings, enemies are located here and they honestly look like some big bad biker looking dudes that are dual wielding pistols. They have these bald heads with leather jackets with their slim black pants. You have multiple ways to take out these enemies. You can shoot them with your spider webs to kind of stun lock them. You can also do numerous punches and kicks to knock them out. Another way to defeat them is by hitting them close to the edge of a building, which makes them fall to their death, which was kind of funny to me. Once we defeat most of the enemies and scale all the rest of the buildings, we finally make it to the bank. On top of the bank, some of the robbers were outside guarding it. We defeated the robbers and a drop down entrance to the bank appeared, so we jumped in. Once you land at the bank, you have a few guards you have to take out, and then you move to the main lobby. When inside the lobby, you notice a metal grate that's located on the ground, and usually that indicates that you can shoot the web shooter to the ceiling, and that puts you in a vent shaft that can lead to other rooms. After exiting the vent shaft, we fall into a room that has 3 switches that need to be switched on. Switch number 1 releases a hostage that has been trapped, and switch number 2 opens up the door to the room that you're trapped in. And switch number 3 opens up next to the area that we have to go to, but it also releases 2 guards that we have to take out. We easily defeat the guards and move on to the next area. In this part of the bank, we have to free 3 hostages from a group of guards, and this was the first time I was greeted with a game over screen. I had thought you could just walk up to the guards and defeat them easily and free the hostages, but if any of the guards catch whiff of your presence, then they would unload on the hostages. So I knew I had to be sneaky and fast to eliminate the guards. Doing so, we defeated the guards and set them free and headed to the elevator exit. Next, we actually freed 4 more hostages by taking out more guards with my 6 Spidey moves. At one point, I almost accidentally drop-kicked a hostage, oopsie, but once the guards were defeated, we made it to the core of the bank being the vault, and the guards had something suspicious going on in there. When entering the vault, Spidey notices that there is a bomb and more hostages. You have more switches to turn on, which opens the door to the bomb room and also the vault. Geez, how many hostages do you need for a bank robbery? You have a 2-minute timer to defeat the guards and to defuse the bomb, except you don't actually defuse it. You pick the bomb up and throw it into the vault while shutting the massive steel door. Kind of an interesting way to do it. The bomb explodes and the hostages are saved. In the next level, you receive word that Gargan is looking to take out Jonah Jameson, the owner of the Daily Bugle. It's a race to get to the Daily Bugle, swinging from building to building, taking out bad guys and hoping that time doesn't run out before Jonah becomes a victim to Gargan's reign. When you enter the Bugle by smashing through a window, Jonah is there in front of Gargan and says that he wished he would have gotten the police besides Spiderman. Kind of rude to say to somebody saving his life, but the fight between Gargan and Spiderman would begin. Web attacks were super effective against Gargan. If you stuck him with a bunch of webs, then he gets stun locked where you can run up and hit him with a few combo punches and kicks. Halfway through the fight, he breaks through a wall chasing Jonah and then gets even more aggressive. With the help of the supercharged web attack though, we eventually defeated the evil Gargan. Jeez, that Jonah guy really doesn't have any respect for Spider-Man. That would be the last time I'd save his life. Now it was time to escape the police in the Spider-Man destroying helicopter thanks to the ungrateful man Jonah. I really enjoyed this part of the story though. I think the game design here was done to perfection. We had to scale loads of buildings while being chased by the helicopter. It shot bombs, destroying air vents, and also shot a machine gun at you at the same time. One little small con though was sometimes when you crawled on the side of buildings it seemed like bullets just couldn't be avoided. When climbing on the side of the tall skyscraper, the chopper would unload bombs on certain windows exposing the inside of the buildings, and I thought that was pretty cool. Eventually you would have to swing onto this crane latched onto a huge concrete block, and the helicopter shoots it down while you're on it. I thought that we would fall to our death, but it put us on this building where you would have to climb this unfinished skyscraper where a machine gun with what seems to be explosive ammo tracks your every move. These bullets were pretty easy to juke though, and when you reached the top you had to swing through a few more buildings. You come across a building with 2 transmitter towers where the chopper smashes its tail rotor into one of them, ending the chase. Next we have to face the impeccable Rhino at Omnitech. As Black Cat has her back turned watching a helicopter steal some tech, Rhino runs out of nowhere smashing Black Cat in the back and sending her off the rooftop. Rhino turns his focus to us and the fight ensues. This fight for the most part was a piece of cake. All that had to be done was letting Rhino charge after you like a bull while you stand in front of these explosive barrels. Right before Rhino hits you, you would have to jump out of the way, causing Rhino to dive right into the barrels. Doing this would cause massive damage. We made Rhino bonk his head multiple times and defeated him in no time. After defeating Rhino, we change out of our Spider-Man outfit and blend in with the crowd as we go and check on Black Cat. She informs us that the people taking her away are not paramedics, and we see 2 dark shadows in the driver's seat of the ambulance as they drive away. After hanging out with Inferno near the Statue of Liberty, we run into Venom, and our mission is to chase him to his hideout. Honestly, this was difficult at first because Venom had to have some aimbot or something because his webs were going straight to the buildings, and you can say I struggled a little bit. After seeing that dreaded game over screen a couple of times, we made it to Venom's hideout entrance and got ready for a fight. Now this fight had me stressing. We were in this really small alleyway, and there were times where no matter how hard you jumped or tried to avoid this evil Venom, he would just grab you and do massive damage. After loads of fail attempts, I figured out that if you hit Venom with a supercharged web attack, it would also do loads of damage, causing him to disappear. Every time he would show himself again, we would do that same attack until Venom was defeated. For now. We followed Venom into the sewers and began to chase him once again. In the sewers, we would be introduced to these weird lizard-looking things. These lizards were not only weird-looking, but they were super tanky and also did a lot of damage to you, especially if there were multiple. We defeated a few of the lizard dudes and proceeded to chase Venom to the sewer cavern. You had to reach these pipes with your spider webs, and oh my goodness, I about lost my cool. Here I began to notice that swinging with the webs from pipe to pipe was a little bit clunky, which made me fall into the depths of the sewer. I think I was getting so mad because I would make it super close to the exit door, and the last pipe would always make me fall. When we finally reached the door, we were met with some more of the creepy looking sewer lizards. Defeating them brought us to the subway. You have to ride the subway until it reaches the finish line located at the bottom of your screen. Throughout the subway ride, the lizard guys fall from the ceiling in an attempt to knock you off. Web cartridges and health packs spawned on the subway's tracks though, so defeating the lizards wasn't much of a task as we reached the end of the finish line. After completing the subway level, Venom knocked us into a tunnel and made us head into the sewage plant. Man, how many of these lizard guys are there? In the plant, we had to turn on switches that lowered water levels so that we could explore more of the plant. We had to be quick though because the switches would turn back on, making the water fill back up, and apparently Spider-Man can't swim. Once we kicked some more lizard booty, we flipped on the rest of the switches, exposing our next destination. And the next destination had a pool of some sort of green slime that we had to drain out so we could get closer and get our hands back on Venom. We had to turn on these pulley switches in a certain order and the goo began to drain out. Okay, there is absolutely no way I missed that platform. After raging and throwing a little rant on why I missed the platform, we pushed our way closer to Venom and had to crawl through a very small and thin tunnel that had water coming in and out. We had to time it perfectly though, so that we wouldn't become a drowned spider. We finally make it to Venom, but there's a problem. He locked himself behind 4 doors and we needed to find the right combination to unlock the doors. We had to jump from a few platforms that had more switches that showed which doors were going to open. 2 switches had to be turned on, and that's what we did. We made it back to the doors, but again, Venom was gone. We were now in the lizard's maze though, and I knew that we were super close to where Venom was located, and knew it was only a matter of time. We ran into the lizard who owned this lair, and he told us that Venom had took him prisoner and was using his lizard people against him. He told us the location to where Venom was located, and after I avoided some hardcore metal smashers, we made it to Venom's location. We found Venom and also found where he was holding Mary Jane. Mary Jane was being held by her wrists on chains and was being submerged and drowned in water. You had to shoot the switch that controlled her descent while also fighting Venom. The Venom fight was super easy though, after figuring out that the supercharged web does great damage. Venom was defeated and Mary Jane was saved. Venom explains why he did what he did. He said Spider-Man was the bad guy who did the heist at the Science Expo, when in reality it was an imposter Spider-Man. Storyline wise though, I thought this was weird because after Spider-Man explains his innocence, Venom believes him and saves Mary Jane from falling. And Spider-Man also forgives him. Wait, let me get this straight. Venom basically kidnapped Mary Jane, attempted to murder her, and sent Spider-Man through hell and high water to find her, but he's forgiven? Okay, that makes sense. Spider-Man let Venom know that we needed to go to the Daily Bugle again for Jonah Jameson's help by using his database for some information. We arrive at the Bugle and Venom gets a sense of carnage in the area and leaves to go look for him. We get introduced to a pesky creature called a symbiote. Now these things were a pain to fight. Shooting them with the webs and supercharged webs did little to no damage, and we had to use our kicks and punches. They also shot you if you were on the ceiling or a wall. These guys did some massive damage. Later on though, we would figure out that using a fire web cartridge would also do massive damage to the symbiotes. We had to find 2 switches to turn on the air conditioner fans to destroy some of the symbiotes' goo that had people in the Bugle trapped. One switch was located at the end of the hallway, and the other was located through a glass window. It took me a second to find it because I couldn't remember where it was located, and now thinking about it, that's kind of a whack spot. After freeing the Bugle employees, we descended down an elevator shaft, but had to restart the elevator a few times because it kept stopping. Here we had to fight a few symbiotes in the process. I died a few times over, and I had another small rage incident. But anyways, after cooling down and getting stuck on a pole, we finally made it to the Bugle's basement. We needed to help stop the spread of the symbiotes and had to destroy a bunch of generators that were producing them. We destroy a couple of the generators and find the last one on a loading dock type of location when BAM! The symbiotes try to smash you with a giant toilet paper roll. We smash the last generator and head even deeper into the basement of the Bugle. When we reach the basement center, we have to destroy yet more generators. After that, we finally catch the imposter Spidey, and we learn that Mysterio is actually the one behind the mask. Mysterio will yet be another boss we will have to conquer, and this is by far the hardest person to fight in this game. To defeat Mysterio, you have to supercharge your web shots and hit the glowy bulbs located on his body. Then once you do that, his lasers have to be destroyed by doing the same thing. And at the end, you have to shoot Mysterio's head. But before all that could happen, we went through an agonizing amount of pain, dying over and over again, getting picked up and slammed down, getting ran over by spiky cylinders, getting electrocuted, getting stepped on, getting hit by lasers. You get the point. A lot of the reason I died was because the level design on this boss fight wasn't great. The depth perception for the floors while using a joystick was tough, and the web shooter sometimes wouldn't aim at the bulbs correctly. It was just a mess. Ultimately though, we conquered the crazed Mysterio and carried on to the waterfront warehouse. And what would be our task in the warehouse? You guessed it, taking out more symbiote generators. Being probably the easiest level the game has to offer, we destroyed the 5 generators and moved on to the underwater trench. In the underwater trench, we have to use the webs to swing over to platforms that contains giant lasers that constantly shoot you. I honestly thought this was going to be a breeze, but I soon found out it wasn't. You have to be very quick when you swing on to the next platform by going into first person, and you also perish if you fall from the platforms because a pile of electrical waves lay at the bottom. After a few attempts, we finally succeed and make our way to the research facility. In the facility, we finally find Black Cat, but unfortunately she's trapped in this weird capsule, and she says the only way to free her will be by stopping the fog and closing the smokestacks that is releasing all the pressure from the facility. We unlock the rooms and close each smokestack, releasing Black Cat. Traveling deeper into the facility, we run into Doc and Carnage, and Spidey tells them that nobody can control the symbiotes. Doc insists that nobody could until now. Suddenly Venom appears and he's looking for Carnage. Him and Carnage begin to tussle and fly out of the window, leaving Doc and Spidey to duke it out on their own. Now Doc was in this force field type of shield, and you had to hit the buttons every time they lowered from the machine. Once you hit the button 4 times, Doc's shield would go away and you could use your attacks. After doing this about 4 times, Doc was defeated and back came Carnage and Venom. Carnage was a tough task because hitting him with any kind of attack did little damage. What you needed to do was get Carnage close enough and use your supercharged web attack to knock him into the Sonic Ring, because everybody knows symbiotes don't like Sonic. After getting smacked around a few times, we sent Carnage into the Sonic Ring, and both Carnage and Doc were defeated. Everything was laughs and smiles when all of a sudden Monster Ock appears from beneath Spidey. Monster Ock was here, and now the facility is about to explode due to the pressure from the trapped fog. You have to follow a path using your webs to swing rapidly across hallways, from the window to the wall, to the ceiling, through doors, over pipes. Eventually, we would make it to the first level and escape with the facility going up in flames and Monster Ock falling victim to the explosion. We grab Ock and escape the facility, catching a ride with Captain America, Venom, and Black Cat. Mary Jane was saved, Black Cat was saved, and Doc was defeated in an amazing ending. Now let's get to the ratings. Enjoyment. This game to me is super enjoyable. This PS1 classic has an amazing storyline, but with a few bits and pieces that doesn't really make sense, like the Venom and Mary Jane part. But the story was super fun to play out, and I always seem to be having fun while playing this game. So enjoyment gets a B+. Map design. Map design was amazing as well. The only con I think I can think of is where you have to scale a lot of buildings early on. It kind of made the game a tad bit laggy. In the one level where you had to turn on the air conditioner, a switch was just in a weird spot. But ultimately, you get a taste of a little bit of everything, outside, on buildings, in sewers, even on a subway. The map design gets a B+. Game mechanics. The game mechanics were iffy at some parts. Like most first-person PS1 games, the camera angles were sometimes bad, and the Mysterio boss fight was also something to complain about. During that battle, the web shooter sometimes wouldn't register the glowing targets on his body, which sometimes would just ruin your rhythm and cause more damage to be taken. Other than that though, the web swinging and basic PvP mechanics were on point. With those few cons, the mechanics get a C+. Overall, this game gets a B-, and an 85 out of 100 score on the game meter. The mechanics and boss fights being the blunt of the cons, with the camera angles as well, could definitely be cleaned up. But the story was definitely on point. Well, that's all for this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, stay classy. with the classics.